Hey guys, this is Steve Huff from SteveHuffPhoto.com. What do I have in my hand? I want to talk about the Sony A9 a little bit more because I'm seeing some stuff online where people are getting a little wondering if this is just a camera for sports. Is it a sports camera only? Well, the A9, this is not an A9, I have to confess. This is an A7R2, my trusty old A7R2. And it's sitting right here, and for a minute I thought it was the A9, and I'm like, oh no, I had to give that back to Sony yesterday. So I want to talk a little bit more about the A9 after I used it. Now, I can't show photos from it until next Thursday. They're under embargo from Sony. We're not allowed. Anybody who was there, is my camera crooked? Let me fix this thing. There we go. Anybody who was there, they're not allowed to show photos. It still looks crooked. I guess it's fine. Not allowed to show photos till next Thursday. So I want to talk a little bit about what I've been seeing online from people. I've seen people saying, well, it's just a sports camera. If you don't do sports, you don't need it. Well, you don't need it. You don't need an A7R2. You know, a lot of people just need their phone and they use that. But there's people who are professionals besides sports shooters who might be interested in this. There's enthusiasts who maybe have an A7 first gen, second gen, and they're curious about the A9. So let me fill you in on some information and my thoughts on the A9 of why it's not just a sports camera. The A9, as you know, Sony's been hyping it as 20 frames per second, no blackout, as the big feature. And that is a big feature because no other camera can do it. Yesterday, they set up a whole track and field system, and we got to shoot all these track and field events with it to test the focus tracking. The AF tracking is absolutely amazing. Now, I've never shot sports. I've never shot track and field. I shot a baseball game once for a Sony test. But shooting track and field, you know, the pole vaults, I forgot what they're called. Is it called pole vault? Where they take the big pole and they run down and they jump over the thing. I was shooting, I just cracked my knuckle, sorry. And I would track the girls and guys as they were coming with the poles, starting from way down with the 70 to 200. And all the way from the start until they jumped over the top, the thing locked on and tracked their body and stayed in focus. We did the long jump, same thing. We did cheerleaders. We shot cheerleaders jumping through the air, ice skaters, hockey players. The focus tracking was amazing. And everybody after the shoot was like, holy crap, look at how sharp these are. They actually stayed in focus. So for a camera, especially a full frame camera, to do that, that's not a Canon or Nikon, is pretty impressive. And in that area, I think I keep looking at my A7 thinking it's an A9, like, ooh, I have an A9. For the sports crowd, the A9, in my opinion, is going to do better than a Canon 1DX. Now, Sony let us talk to some Olympic professional shooters who shot the camera, and they were so impressed by it, they all want to switch over to the A9 themselves. It's pretty freaking crazy how Sony has gone from really slow AF in their first A7 models to much better in their second gen, to the A9 being just probably better than any camera I've ever used as far as AF speed tracking. Now, the frames per second, 20 frames per second, I never shoot like that, but I did yesterday because that's what I wanted to test. I have to test that feature. So for sports shooters, yes, this could be your dream camera. But does that mean it's not for anyone else? Absolutely not. First of all, before I go into those reasons, I do want to stress over an A7R2 that I have and why an A9 would be pretty cool to upgrade to or buy if you don't even have a Sony and you want one. The EVF is when I first looked through it, I'm like, no, I like the SL better. That was just looking through it, not even using it. But then when I used it, I was like, wait, this looks just about as big as the SL, but it's clearer, it's crisper, the color is way better, it's contrasty, and I'm like, wait, it's like I'm looking at an HD TV, and like an LCD. It's like the color is so correct, what you see is what you get. And when you shoot, it's just like you're watching a movie. There's no blackout. So you're getting this crystal clear image with no lag. It doesn't get grainy. It doesn't get all weird and flashy. It looks like you're watching TV. So the EVF is the best EVF I've ever used, and it beats the Leica SL that I love so much. So for the shooting experience, the EVF alone is going to be like really welcome for some people when they get this camera. They're gonna like holy shite, this thing is pretty cool. So then you have the battery life, which Sony says gives you 2.2 times greater battery life than the A7. Now I used it yesterday. I used the electronic shutter for most of my shooting. I used the 20 frames per second for a lot of the shooting. I did some stuff with center point and mechanical shutter like I normally do with my A7, and I shot some video and some slow motion video. We started in the morning, we ended in the evening, like around 5 o'clock or so, and my battery, the only one I used, was still at 42%. 1,900 shots plus, and I still had 42% battery. So the battery life is so much improved. So kudos to Sony for that. I've been dying for that feature. Another reason that it is better than an A7R system. Not that the A7R is bad. My A7R2 is going nowhere. I'm keeping it. But the dual SD card slots that everybody's been asking for are now here. So you can back up your images to a second card in case your first one gets corrupted, or you can use it however you want. So you have all these features. You have a touch AF, not a touch screen. It's not a touch screen, but if you can set your focus point with your finger. But you also have that joystick on the back, which when you're shooting, if you're shooting, say, center point, you're not using the fancy whiz-bang tracking. You can just use that joystick. If you're shooting a wedding and you want to shoot somebody off center, you don't have to focus and recompose. That's awesome. I love that you can move that focus point with the joystick so easily. So it's much more user-friendly. I like that you have the quick and slow dial, or added to the dial on top. If I want to shoot some 120 frames slow-mo video, it's a dial click away instead of having to go into the menu. So you have a lot of features. The new sensor, this is the latest Sony sensor technology. I tested it at high ISOs. I went up to 102,000 and it looked phenomenal. Now I don't know if it was any better than the A7R2 or A7S2. I don't think it was better than the A7S2, but it was excellent. So you're not going backwards in the low light department. So the A9 is not just for sports. If you shoot weddings, if you shoot portraits, if you shoot street, if you shoot everyday life, if you just want a camera that's responsive, quick, a joy to use, features that are accessible, you can now change all your focus modes and drive modes with the two dials at the top. You don't have to go into the menu anymore. The menus have been tweaked. The ergonomics have changed slightly. The SD card door now locks into place. So it's, excuse me, I think I'm coming down with a cold from my New York trip. I didn't feel so well last night. I came home, took a shower, ate some food. I feel a lot better, but I still have a cough, so excuse me if I cough. But I had to give the A9 back yesterday. I'll get a review unit in a couple weeks, 3 weeks or so. It ships on May 25th to anyone who pre-orders it. It's up for pre-order now. But a lot of people are saying it's just a sports camera, and no way is that true. It's basically the most versatile digital 35mm full-frame camera ever created. It's the most technologically advanced 35mm full-frame camera ever developed. It does things that no Fuji can do, that no Canon can do, that no Leica can do. Now, not everybody wants all this fancy stuff. Some people are happy shooting a Leica M, including me, and just having focus, boop, and there you go. But when I shot through the A9 and experienced the way the EVF is, like I'm looking at real life, but it's an EVF, not an OVF. When I experienced the response and speed, the much improved startup time of the camera, there's no lag or no slow feeling about it whatsoever. So it feels and shoots like a professional tool. You can shoot anything with it. I would shoot street with it. I would shoot family with it. Anybody who wants a high-end, uber-responsive camera, I think would really enjoy the A9. So it's not just for sports. Having that capability is like the icing on the cake. So maybe one day I'm gonna go out and shoot something with action. I'll be sure to nail every shot because I have that. So that's why I'm getting an A9, but I'm keeping my A7R2 because I've bonded with this camera. I've had it for a couple years since it came out, whenever it came out, a little before it came out maybe. And it's gone through so much with me. I've created so many memories with it, personal things. It's gone through hell and back with me because I've had it in rain, I've had it in snow, I've had it in 115-degree full sun heat. I ran it through a color run and thought I destroyed it when it was coated with colored powder everywhere. But after I cleaned it, it works as good as new. It never stopped working. It worked as good as new when it was covered with powder. Which leads me to one thing that I wish Sony would have added to the A9, and I see a lot of people talking about it. A lot of people are like, well, it's not pro because it's not weather sealed. Well, yes and no. As I've said, I've had the A7R2, which is weather resistant like the A9. I've had it in a pretty torrential downpour on one day I did. I had it in some drizzle on another day or two. But one day this thing was soaked and I thought, oh no, I think, I might have hurt the camera. Dry it off, turn it on, it worked as good as new, never had a problem. I had it in snow. I didn't cover it and bury it in snow, but I've set it in snow to do some self-timer stuff, no problem. The color run, no problem. So maybe Sony knows something we don't. If they would have weather sealed the A9, my guess is it would have raised it to $5,000. And maybe they just don't see repairs from rain damage. I don't know. I'm just guessing why they wouldn't have done that. Because you think they would have done that to say, look, Canon, look what we did. We created a Canon 1DX killer, and it even has the weather sealing. But they left out the weather sealing, and they left out the S-Log for the documentary filmmakers. Now, S-Log is used by very few in the grand scheme of things. The masses, or the sports pros, or the wedding pros, or the portrait pros, who will buy I keep thinking this is an A9. So act like this is an A9, but it's really an A7R2. The pros who would buy that, they really don't care about S-Log. The majority of people who shoot video on these cameras don't use S-Log because it requires that extra processing and extra step of grading your footage and all that kind of stuff. But documentary filmmakers, those interested in filmmaking and video, do use it. In that case, you don't have it on the A9, which is why I believe Sony may come out with an A9S and an A9R later for the high resolution people. So the A9 is 24 megapixels, which to me is my preferred megapixel count. I love that the M10 Leica has 24 megapixels. I love 24 megapixels. Now, I love my A7R2, and that's much higher than 24, but I prefer 24. It fits all my needs for me personally. But there's going to be people out there who say, well, I want 50 megapixels for landscape. Maybe they're going to come out with something. Now there's some possibilities. A9R, A9S, or the actual rumored A9 Pro, which will have weather sealing. And who knows what else. Now these are just speculations. I know nothing. And if I did, I couldn't tell you, because if I told you, I'd be sued by Sony. So just by me saying these things proves to you I have no inside information. The way the camera business works, you sign your life away when they tell you a secret, and if you tell that secret, they sue you for like $1 million. So I don't have $1 million, so I never signed a form. These are just guesses. So there's a lot of conspiracy theories. People think reviewers have all this inside information when the camera companies don't tell us anything until the day they announce it, really. We didn't know that an A9 was coming until they live streamed it to everybody. We were there in the audience. So I don't have any inside information. This is just gut feeling. With the A7, they had the A7, then the A7R and A7S. So will they do the same thing with the A9, A9R, A9S, with the S having the S-Log and the lower megapixel sensor for better noise performance, and an A9R with like a 50 megapixel sensor, or who knows what else. That's a possibility. But as far as the weather sealing, I'm not concerned about it because I know what I've put the A7 through, but I know a lot of people are concerned about it. So I wish Sony would have put it in, since they're aiming for that Canon 1DX market. I don't know why they didn't. I asked a couple of Sony people and they really didn't know, because the people I talked to, they don't design the cameras. But Sony did listen to all the feedback from people. It's faster, it's more responsive, the dual SD card slots, much better battery life, a little more user-friendly because you have the controls up top instead of having to go into the menu, which makes you feel like you're working a computer. So the A9 feels less like a computer than ever and more like a professional camera. Once you set all your settings, program your buttons, I would probably never have to go in the menu again, because I never go in my A7 menu unless I want to format a card. So I just wanted to say the A9 is much more than a sports camera. And I have some images coming Thursday. They're not fantastic because it was my first time ever shooting anything like that. As a matter of fact, I screwed up shooting hockey. I'm so used to not shooting sports and just shooting my low light center point stuff. My camera was set up for how I usually shoot, but with the tracking and the high frame rate. So I was shooting hockey at 1/60th of a second. How dumb is that? And then I realized it and I set it to shutter priority and I fixed that right away. Not right away, after like a couple hundred shots. But once I shot the track and field, I was seeing this amazing tracking capability that just blew my mind. Would I ever use that? Probably rarely, because I'm not a sports guy. But I would appreciate that EVF, the no blackout, which is amazing. When you use it, you'll see, if any of you watching this have ordered the camera, which is for pre-order today. The battery life, the dual SD, everything about it is refined. The thumbstick is really nice to have. So I can see myself, I said in the other video, a desert island camera, and I think it would be. An A9R would be more money, so I don't think I would go that route. An A9S, that might be something that I could be interested in. So I'll have to think hard about A9 or hope that they come out with an A9S. They may never do that. But I think I'm going with the A9 for sure. I think I've already decided on that because the 24 megapixels, the great low light, the battery, everything, I've already said it a million times. So I just wanted to say, it's not just a sports camera. It's something for everyone. And not everyone, not people who, hey, I want a better camera than my phone. No, you can go get like a Canon point and shoot or something. But for those enthusiasts, those advanced hobbyists, those who have an A7 and they want something better, it's usually about wants more than needs these days, unless you're a hardcore professional. Wedding shooters, I think, should flock to that A9 like freaking bees to honey. You're going to get so many shots with that camera that you may have missed due to that response and AF speed and the thumbstick where you can move your focus point around. There's all kinds of things. The video's gorgeous out of it, even without S-Log. S-Log, like I said, is more for the filmmaking crowd. So I really, as I said before, the only weakness, if you want to call it that, because it might not even be that, is the weather sealing. And since I've never had a problem with my A7R2 in extreme weather, no, I never took it to like Antarctica and dipped it in ice, but I've had it in some pretty rough conditions over the last 2 years, and it's never failed. I think my eye rubber here is peeling off, if we can see that. So that's the only thing going wrong with my A7R2 after 2 years. Never needed warranty repair or anything like that. I still have my Zeiss 16-35 that I love. So the A9's coming, ships May 25th. You can pre-order today. I would pre-order personally, if it was me, from B&H Photo or Amazon. I'll put links in the description if you guys want to check out their pages. They have the info about shipping times and all that kind of stuff, all the specs, the tech specs, if you want to get detailed into the technical aspects. So just click on those links and you can read all about it. You don't have to pre-order if you click on those links. What else can I say about my experience with the A9? For now, that's it. But next Thursday, I will have some photos because I did take photos, and while I said they're not going to win any awards, for me and my first time shooting sports like that, I was impressed with some of the shots. I was like, whoa, that's sharp, it's in focus, and look at that expression on her face as she's flying through the air. I would have never been able to catch that with an A7 or probably any other camera besides like a Canon 1DX. But yeah, the Sony A9, after a couple years of talking about it, saying ooh, ooh, ooh. And somebody pointed out today on my website, they pulled up a thing I wrote almost a year ago, about a year ago, when Sony released the 70-200 G Master. I wrote what I'd like the A9 to be, and it's what the A9 is. So that's really cool. I don't know if it was coincidence or Sony took that into heart a little bit. I did say weather sealing though, and they didn't put that in. So, but I'd asked for the dual slots, the battery, the bigger, clearer EVF, a few other things. So that's pretty cool. So the A9's here, it's coming, ships May 25th. There's tons of people who are gonna review this. Most of the big websites were there. imaging resource. Tony and Chelsea Northrup were there covering it. You had the Photographer, DP Review, you know, all the sites you know and have been around, Luminous Landscape. So they're all going to have reviews of this camera as well once they get loaners. So far, all of us just did the same event. We shot track and field, and I'm sure many others shot it better than I did, since I never shot anything like that. But even with my inexperience in that, some of the photos were like, whoa, those are pretty cool, man. How did I do that? I never shot anything like that and got that kind of result. So look for that on Thursday at stevehufpphoto.com. Look for a full review. It might be a month because I don't know when I'll get that loaner. I will get a loaner, but I just don't know the exact date. And other than that, thank you for watching. Thumbs up and subscribe if you like this. I want to let you guys know, I want to thank you guys. I've had a few hundred subscribers over the last 3 weeks because I am going to be much more active on my YouTube channel. Every single review or article or anything is going to have a video to go along with it, and there are going to be some that are just video and not even on the website. So if you want to see reviews of camera, lenses, bags, straps, accessories, tech stuff, speakers, audio, headphones, all kinds of stuff, just stuff that I like and buy and try, and I'll let you guys know what I think of it. Be sure to subscribe and give me thumbs up if you want to see more. Other than that, thanks for watching. This is Steve Huff from stevehufpphoto.com, and I'll catch you next time.